Hi, my name is Malia O'Brien. I'm a student in Visions in Education, and this video is a rundown on what I did for my directed project. And what I chose for my directed project was to play the cello and to learn the music theory. So first I'm going to start by going through the whole instrument of the cello, and what I want to explain is the cello has 4 strings on it, and on each string there's 4 different placements of different notes. So I'd like to run through that. I'd also like to run through a little bit of the music theory of what I learned from my cello teacher. A little bit about the note times and the musical terms, and if my cello was in shape. There's something wrong with it right now. It's a used cello. I'd gladly play for this video because I'd probably get more credits for it, but unfortunately I can't, so I'm gonna have to do with what I've learned and without the cello. So let's begin. So the cello has 4 strings, A, D, G, and C string. And on A string, there's A, B, C, C, D. Then the next string is D, D, E, F, F, G. Next string is G string, G, Sol, La, G, A, B, B, and then C, and then the next string is C string, which is C, D, E, E, F. And I'm a little slow on that, notice, is because I learned that there's names for them. Rather than saying A, B, C, D, E, F, G, each letter of the alphabet has their own name. And what I learned is, so I'll just say it. A string, I will show you. I can't play with it, mind you, but I can show you. This would be A string, right here. A string. And A sounds kind of sour. And always, if you're going to play with the cello, you do it. This is called, I call it the dead zone, because you're gonna have a stale noise. I mean, of course, you're gonna have a stale noise before because my cello is a little sour sounding, but you're going to put your 4 fingers right here all together, and wherever your pinky is, that's going to be your first note. So there's going to be A, B, C, C, D, and that would be La, Ti, Do, Do, Re, and Re is D. And here's D string, which sounds a little funny right now because I tried to fix it. D, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Fa, Sol. Sol is G, and this is G string. La, Ti, Ti, Do, and Do is C string, and C string's the next string. Do, Re, Mi, Mi, Fa. Now, when you're playing the cello, I just wanted to show you the strings and the different notes on the strings. When you play the cello, when you hold the cello, you have to sit up straight. You have to put your feet flat on the ground and sit at the edge of your seat. And basically, you'd have to sit, if somebody were to yank the chair out from under you, you'd have to be able to catch yourself, because you're putting all of your weight on your heels or on your feet. And while you hold the cello in front of you, you don't let the cello lean against you. You lean against the cello, and you also hold the cello. The cello looks like a woman's body, and you hold the cello's hips with your legs, with your almost your knees, basically, the inner part of your knee, right above your knee. And when you hold the cello and you're going to play, what you would do is you pretend like you have a ball or an egg right here in between your pointer finger and your thumb, so that you can hold the cello. You can hold the cello, but you can also keep your hands, keep your fingers from sliding down the chords, because if you're going to play down here, it sounds funny rather than the correct position being up here with all the notes on the strings. And you can also change, but you have to, and how it was described to me is you have to, basically you would have the bow right here, you would have the bow sit up straight, pretend that I have a cello, and you would hold it like this. So you would look like a cross, basically. And when you play, you have to start. You have to start when you start playing the cello. You have to start by playing, by plucking, by doing, you know, the finger positions and plucking with your other hand. Because if you're going to jump into, you have to do this and this and this and hold it this way, and then you have to hold the bow a certain way, and you have to push the bow, and you have to make sure that your shoulders relaxed and this and that and all this kind of stuff, and you jump all into it right then and there, and you don't have practice to focus on your fingers on your left hand, and your fingers holding the bow on your right hand, and you just intertwine it at once, it's going to be hard. It's going to be way harder than it looks. So what I learned was to start playing with my fingers, you know, and playing by plucking, and then doing open string, which means I don't play with my, I don't, you know, do this while I play with the bow. I just do, you know, use the bow on the cello. And with the bow, it's a lot harder than just, you know, plucking, because with your fingers you get a hold of it. You get a hang of how and where your fingers are supposed to go and how you're supposed to sit and this and that. And with the bow, it's a lot harder. The bow is still, I'm still trying to work on the bow right now, but it's actually, I'm getting better, but it doesn't happen overnight. But anyways, that's just a rundown on the cello, the actual instrument, and how you play the instrument. I'd like to go more into the music theory, because this is something more that I enjoy. You know, I do enjoy playing the instrument, but I also enjoy it's a different language. The music theory is like a different language. I mean, it is absolutely incredible. So, I wrote in my notebook just a bunch of stuff. I, you know, would stay up late and try and figure out the music theory when I first started. And first I didn't understand why the chords were all messed up and funny. But then I realized that it's the alphabet backwards over and over again. So here's a little animation. This is about a 3 o'clock in the morning drawing that I did to try and, you know, figure out the music theory. But I succeeded because I've come very far. But this has helped me a little bit. I don't know if it'll help anybody else, but this right here, this is, if you can see up here, it starts by sol, fa, mi, re, do, ti, la, and that's part of the alphabet, and it just kind of goes on. And here we have, right here, do is C string, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Sol is G string, re is D string, and la is A string. So if you notice, I can't even remember where my thoughts were when I did this, but if you observed that it is the alphabet basically backwards, just over and over again, if you can see with the green and blue arrows that go all over the place. But it helped me for a little bit. It just kind of stuck with me. I think that's why I stayed up till 3 in the morning doing it. And then here's actually, like, I learned how to read music on a musical staff, and this is a little bit of what I've learned. Oh, here's more of A string, D string, G string, and C string. So here you can see that it says A string, La, Ti, Do, Do, Re, and the numbers above that are the fingers. Notice how La, which is the open A string, has no fingers, but Ti, Do, Do, and Re, T would be the first finger because it's not open string. La, which is A string, which is open string, A string. Now, T would be the first finger. Do, notice how there's two do's. Since higher notes are always going to be sharp. Now, this is when I start talking more about the musical terms, and then you'll start to understand. But high strings like A and D, because there's 4 strings, so 2 are even, or 2 are high and 2 are low. So the A string, on every single string, there's going to be 2 of the same letters of the alphabet. Like A is La, Ti, Do, Do, Re. Well, Do number 2, right here, Do number 2 it's natural. That means that you play with this one. This is first, La, Ti, Do, and then this one, the third finger, notice how it says 3, is going to be sharp. So it gives a more sharper, even sound, is how I can describe it, because I play by ear. And then Re is number 4. And then Re is D string, so that's the string that's right next to A string. So it's very coincidental. I guess I could call it coincidental. But that's how I learned to read the names and to also play on the cello. But to read the music, it's not such a cakewalk, like, you know, learning just the beginning of that and how to, you know, mess around on the cello. The reading part is a lot harder, but because I've become more accustomed to it, it's become more easier for me, just by practice and stuff. But I drew up a little bit of, you know, this is kind of like doodle for me, you know, doodling. Here we have all the high notes, which are up here, and all the low notes right here. Mind you, this pretty thing right here that looks like a mouth and basically a frowny face is a clef, or clef note, and or bass clef, sorry, a bass clef. A bass clef basically stating, see, and it's kind of drawn on this right here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 little lines. That would be considered a musical staff. And a musical staff is kind of like, it's like this. This is a worksheet that my cello teacher printed out for me. Notice how there's a bass clef on every single line. On 40 and 41, 42, and so on, there's bass clefs on them. And all of these symbols, like this, and the 4/4, and it looks like a little hat, and it looks like an upside down top of a roof, and you see all the numbers, and you see over here that, and that, and that. All of those are part of the musical terms, and it's like English. It's like somebody writing to me, it's like somebody writing a beautiful poem, because you can hear all the pitches of the voice when you read on this musical staff and you read what this person has written. And basically, I will give you a rundown on just a little bit of what I know, make this video not so long. But basically, these are the highs and low notes. And notice how some of them are off the musical staff. This is the musical staff, right? From right here to up here. And notice how there are some that are off the musical staff. Notice that. That's because those are actually, it's normal. I don't know why they're off the musical staff, but it kind of gives you an idea. It gives you an idea of what their voice sounds like, is how I can describe it. It gives you an idea of the tone of the sentence, or the sentence, the story is how I can put it. The sentence or story or poem, which would be like one line of, you know, Jingle Bells, or, you know, something that you could play from an instrument. But it's basically that they're either super low or super high off the musical staff. And our next thing that we're going to go on to is note times. The note times I'm still trying to figure out. I have them down, I just need to keep going back and kind of reviewing. A whole note, there's a whole note, eighth note, quarter note, half note, and a whole note. Well, I said whole note, sorry. There's more notes, but this is all I've learned so far from my cello teacher. So an eighth note is 1 beat, a quarter note is 2 beats, a half note is 4 beats, and a whole note is 8 beats. And it's basically like mathematics, and this is where I always had trouble in math, and once I heard that, you know, musical theory had math in it, I thought to myself, oh great, I'm not going to learn anything. Well, surprisingly I did, because it's a lot easier than you think it is, depending on how much you learn with reading you know, being able to read music. So here's a couple drawings that I did, or some notes that I took. So it says that a bunch of 8 notes equals 1 whole note, and 4 quarter notes equals 1 whole note, and 2 half notes equals 1 whole note. So if you have a bunch of these, you know, eighth notes, quarter notes, half notes, they're going to equal a whole note, which is 1, you know, 8 beats, but if you were playing on the bow, it'd be 1 solid consistent beat, which is 1 solid consistent, you know, on the strings. And I'm still trying to learn a little bit more of that, but all in all, I can play some songs, I can play by ear, I can freestyle. I mean, it's an amazing feeling being able to play or know this different language, and using not your mouth but an instrument to incorporate this different language that you know. So on to the next, we're going to learn about musical terms. I'm just going to show you a couple, you know, little notes or little symbols and what they are. So like I said about the sharp notes before, when I was going through the actual names of the notes and the reading of this right here, reading that, there's with like for instance, the A string and all the other strings, they have 2 of the same alphabet, like la, ti, do, re. So one of those do's, which would be the third finger, next to re, which would be the fourth finger, that would be a sharp. That'd be do sharp, which means it'd be do, and it sounds even. It sounds sharp, rather than if you were to play this one, it sounds good too. I mean, it doesn't sound off track, but it doesn't sound as even and as flowing with the other notes as the sharp does, depending on what notes you're playing. And the higher notes have sharp for the second letter, or for the second alphabet letter, and the lower notes have flat, which is the second letter as well of the alphabet, that they have the same, but they're just basically flat. They're called different things. I mean, it's same thing, but different names. So these are the beginnings. This would be flat, sharp. This is natural, which is the first finger of the, the twins, is how I can call it, because the twins. So, la, ti, do, re. So, natural would be the first one, do sharp, and re. And it can be like, it's like that with every other string and the names of the strings. This, we have a repeat sign, which looks like I always thought it looked like a smiley face. We have piano, which means play softly. Forte, which means play loudly. This is the bass clef, which is that face I told you about. He looks like he's mad or angry or upset. This symbol right here, which I told you looks like a hat, is down bow. Now, down bow is when you're playing with the bow, and you start by playing, let me hold it right, like this. So you would play whatever string you're going to start playing with, but you're going to start playing down. Or if it says up bow, right there, you would play this way. Or you could play, this way. But you have to follow what it says, or else it sounds like gibberish. It sounds like the music theory is gibberish. It sounds like somebody trying to speak English, but they're not quite speaking English correctly. Then you have fermata, which is hold note or rest longer, which is that funny looking symbol. It looks like an eye or an eyeball. And then you have these, which is the tie and the slur. Don't mind these little comments down here, because it's not just for the high notes and for the low notes. They're basically the same. I just don't know why they have different names. And let's see. Then we have rest values, which I'm still trying to learn that. I've been so caught up in trying to catch myself making mistakes and holding the bow and doing all of that. And then maybe going back and learning more of the music theory, because the music theory it's so wide and diverse and just, I mean, huge. It's way bigger than my understanding. Maybe one day I can learn more and more and more and more and become a professor or go and play in an orchestra, but right now I just want to have fun with it. Play with the music theory and my instrument, because it's occupying and it is very peaceful and therapeutic. So, anyways, so these are the rest values, and we have the whole rest, the half rest, quarter rest, eighth rest, and 16th rest. And these are what they look like. Sorry for sloppy notes, but the whole rest looks like a little hat. It looks like an upside down hat, and you basically when you see a hold rest on the music staff, or the music staff, or whatever you're reading, the whole rest is going to be 4 quarters. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then with the half rest, which is 2 quarters, it's going to be a hat, but it looks like it's right side up. And that's going to be 1, 2 of beats of quiet. So if you were playing with the bow, or if you were plucking, you would do 1, 2, and then continue the rest of the music. The 8th rest is half a beat of quiet, so it would go, and then you would continue. I can't even do it either. I don't say anything for it. It's just like a half a breath, or a half a heartbeat, or a half a tick of a clock. And then a 16th rest is a really quick, quiet beat, which is basically, it'd be, if you were playing, you would just not even take a breath. You would just, what I do is look at the next note and then continue. That's how quickly you take that rest. And that's, I think, about it. For what I've learned, I really wish I could, play my cello just to show proof that I'm, I know what I'm talking about, and, but luckily I learned how to play, Jingle Bells, Mozart's Melody, which is like, it sounds like the ABCs, yet it sounds like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but it's not either of them. It's a piece of famous work by Mozart. And then I learned how to play Jingle Bells. Another thing that I learned how to play is this. It's a Russian song. I don't know what it's called, but I know the beat of it, and I know how to play it on my cello, and I know how to pluck it. But again, my cello's not well right now. He's sick. So, anyways, thank you for watching, and leave your comments and questions in the box below, or my email, or whatever. Thank you so much.